Okay, hello and welcome to Van Hoosen Style Reed Making Day 1. I will be doing this without a script, so forgive me if there's a lot of ums. However, the first step is actually going to be before this, and that is going to be to soak your cane for up to 1 day or in a lightly simmering pot of water for 5 minutes. This is a piece of gouged Rigati cane that I bought from Forest's Music. If you gouge your own cane, that is obviously something you can do as well, but because I don't do that, I buy pre-gouged cane. It is about $2 per piece. I buy them in packs of 10, which run me about $20 to $25, and I soak 10 at a time. I made 5 yesterday, I'm going to make 5 today, but you want to make sure that your pieces of cane are good and soaked. Now the tools that I will be using are as follows. I have a Craftsman flip out utility knife. Any utility knife works. I mean, razor blades work theoretically, but you want to make sure it has a sturdy handle. I have a flat file. I have a piece of, I believe this is 800 grit sandpaper. I have a straight shaper. Now I straight shape my reeds. Some people will folded shape their reeds. I prefer to use a straight shaper because I feel that it is easier. Now the shaper that you use can vary on your taste. I chose the Tunamon shape because it provides a narrower blade for me to play on. I recommend that players just beginning their journey in reed making a Hertzberg 1A shape, a Hertzberg shape or a Rieger 1A shape, as those tend to be the most varied and allow for the difference in finding what you like exactly. I will be using a Reeds and Stuff profiler. Now this is not mine, these are not my settings, so unfortunately I cannot tell you the exact settings, but this will run you about $2,500. I will also be using, well, that's about it actually. I have a toothbrush to clean off my tools, but that won't be necessary for today. Now, step 1 will be to shape the reed. In a straight shaper, the reed will go into the straight shaper with the gouged side facing the curvature in the straight shaper. I don't know if you can see that there, but the curved side is here, so I will place this facing this direction. And you want to make sure that the straight shaper is centered on the reed, and you can do that by looking down the middle and making sure that there is an even amount of cane on both sides. So that side looks good. This side needs to be moved a little bit to the left. Now that looks good, and that looks good as well. So now we're going to tighten it down as much as we can, and now moves to the blade part. Now in person, I would teach a lot of knife handling skills before messing with this, because this can be very dangerous as you will be pulling the blade towards you half the time. But what you want to do is hold the blade close to the blade as much as you can without actually touching it. And then you're going to use as much of your left hand as you can for support, or your right-handed if you're left-handed. We're going to start from the middle, and we are going to scrape towards the back. Some people will go all the way, but I like to start with just a couple straight scrapes all the way through. Now the important thing is to not scrape down past this line here. If your straight shaper does not have a line, then I would recommend finding around where this area would be. It's about halfway down the tube. The reasoning for that is because when we pull back or go past, if we pass this line there, we run the risk of pulling more cane off than we actually want to. Because of the way the fibers work, it will simply rip down below the line that we want here. So I will do a couple pass-throughs of just it being straight, avoiding digging as deep as I want to yet. Then once I get to around flat on this front half here, I will align my blade with the edge of the shaper and run it down right to this line. Stop. And then we come back the other direction. Now when you're doing this, the only way to do this safely is you're going to hold the blade with your left thumb, and you're going to use this as a brace for the pressure. That way you don't slip and hit yourself coming back. and then we're going to do the same thing and stop the blade, and you see it comes nice and clean off because that is what the cane wants to do there. And we will simply run this through until there is nothing more to take off. In my case, I believe that is it. Now we will do that the exact same way for all 4 sides, and I will speed this up in the video, and I will see you after it is done. Okay, now that we are done with all 4 sides, you can see that it is sitting flush with the shaper. And then at this point, I like to do a quick wet sand just to make sure that there's nothing sitting outside of the shaper. And also, if there is any rough edges left by my knife, this will remove that. So I just do a quick few strokes with the sandpaper onto the side of the shaper. And don't worry about the shaper damaging the sandpaper. In my 2 years of experience, that has never happened. Alright, once that step is done, I'll move the knife safely away, and now we will grab the piece out of the shaper. And we can see that that is a nicely shaped piece of cane, ready for the profiler. Now we move to the profiler. We'll take what is called the barrel off of the profiler, and the reed will align with the very center of these lines in the middle, and it will be placed with its back on this piece of black plastic to allow for support. So I will place the reed onto the center of the barrel, and then we are going to lock it down, making sure that the center of the cane aligns with the center line etched into this barrel. Make sure that's good and tight, and then we're going to put the barrel back onto the profiler. Now step 1 is going to be to etch in the collar and the center point for the reed. That's what these are for. You will place these on here. You use this lever to rotate the barrel. We'll do a few strokes to etch in the center and the collar. Then I'll flip over, do the other collar, and then we will start profiling through there. Now at this point, technique differs. I use a more aggressive technique as I want to get faster, but some people prefer to not use as much pressure. The way I do it is to do 1 stroke across this first blade, and that will look like that. You will see it makes a nice clean cut here. The trick to the technique of the profiler is to put pressure as you're going forward, and as you're pulling back, release the pressure and turn the barrel at the same time. Now that's a lot of steps, and it will take some getting used to before you actually get good at it. But once I've done that 1 pass through, I will flip it over, and from this point on, I will start doing 2 pass throughs until nothing comes off the cane anymore. And I will speed this up in the video until this is done as well. so at this point, as you can see, no more cane is coming off, which means that this reed has been sufficiently profiled. At this point, it's a bit divisive on what step would be next. Some people would say to simply let this stay out for a day and then proceed to turning it into a blank. I like to cut my collar in now. Each person cuts their collar differently. I like a sharp drop off, some people like a smoother drop off. So because this is tied down on the barrel, I have more control with my knife to create a collar. Before that though, I do like to quickly sand down the front of the blade slightly, just to make a nice smooth surface there, to remove any imperfections in the cane. Now to cut the collar, I will take my utility knife, I'm going to place it right where the edge of the barrel reaches the blade, or the tube reaches the blade. And I'm going to lightly press with even amount of pressure down the length of this line, rocking it back and forth until I feel that I have made enough of an indent to matter. At that point I think it's good. Then I'm going to very carefully, and I cannot express enough, very carefully make sure that the blade is as flush with the reed as I can make it, and I'm going to draw small amounts of cane back from the blade to the collar, making sure to both avoid digging too deep into the cane and slipping and cutting myself, both of which I have done before. Now once I feel that I have dug up enough cane, as you can see it does not come off immediately, so I will go back to rocking on that line that I made until you will hear and feel that the cane you just dug up will start to come detached from the reed. And in my case, I feel I did not pull back far enough, so I'm going to double check that I did. Okay, and we'll do that again. And it should cleanly come off with a little bit of pressure. There we go. Once I've gotten to this point and all of the pieces that I sliced have come off, I will check to make sure that the collar is fairly even. In this case, it looks great. And now I will take my file, I'll get it a little bit wet, and then I'm going to stroke back and forth in a circular motion on the back here to make sure that an even amount of cane has been distributed from the collar down the blade and that there is no large hump. I think that looks good. Then I will give it a quick sand. I like to sand my reeds almost after every step, just to make sure that any human errors that I made to create any imperfections in the cane have been eradicated by the sandpaper. Now I will repeat doing this on the other side. Alright, and once that is done, you have a finished piece of GSP. Now, of course, GSP stands for gouged, shaped, and profiled. At this point, let your GSP dry out for 1 day, then place it back into the water to soak again for 1 day, then we can move on to the next step. In my case, I do these in batches of 5, so by the time I make this next video tomorrow, I will already have a piece of GSP to do. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this informative. If you have any questions or concerns or questions about differences in every style of reed making between people, please let me know in the comments.